Hi, how are you? IGCSE and Excel, English Language A. Paper 2, Fiction Text, and that is Whistle, and I'll come to you. This is from The Woman in Black by Susan Hill. This time round, students, we're going to be looking at an exam style question. How the exam style question look like and what exactly are you expected and how you respond to one. Hi, how are you? So therefore, how does the writer develop rather feelings of isolation in Whistle? And I'll come to you. In your answer, you should write about A, the weather and the setting, 2, the effect of the writer's childhood memories, and 3, the use of language. The question goes like this: how does the writer develop feelings of isolation in Whistle? And I'll come to you. How does the writer develop feelings of isolation? And you should talk about the weather and the setting, the effect of the writer's childhood memories, and also the use of language. So, so therefore, this is how one answer should look like, or this is a sample response rather. And therefore, we go. The passage starts during the night, and the weather is windy. The narrator says that the wind, I quote, increased greatly in force. The house is being battered by the gale and seemed to rock at the impact. The wind changes to being described as gale, and that is roaring across the open marsh. The verbs used to describe the sound and behavior of the weather show how intense it is. And with those quotes, increased, battered, roaring, rattling, boomed. A simile is used to describe how the house is moving because of the strength of the wind. The house felt like a ship at sea. The description of the house mirrors the narrator's isolation: quiet, alone, and exposed. The narrator uses alliteration to emphasize the impact of the weather, bearing the brunt. That is a citation from the text. Repetition also shows the extreme conditions: winter after winter. The word winter has been repeated several times. The use of a list of types of weather shows how desolate the setting is: gales and driving rain and sleet and spray. Adjectives are used to describe isolation and extreme conditions: howling, ill, fitting, tremendous, and mysterious. The Gothic setting, and I quote, pitch blackness and howling darkness. The juxtaposition of the chaos of the storm and ominous calm. No movement, no brush of a sleeve against mine, no disturbance of the air. The claustrophobic setting, short, narrow corridor. The noises of the weather are described in human or animal terms, and I quote, roaring, mourning, like a banshee, and this links to the sound of the child crying. Child's terrible cry borne on the gusts towards me. The narrator reminisces about childhood. I dwelled nostalgically. That is a citation from the text. The narrator's memory of feeling safe in the warm and snug safety of his childhood nursery contrasts rather with his feelings of vulnerability in Eel Marsh House. He reflects on the safe nursery at home, which leads into the contrast with the mysterious nursery in Eel Marsh House. His feelings about being safe as a child at home help to emphasize the desperation and the anguish of the child's cry that he hears. The wind in the nursery at home was powerless, and this makes the wind during the night seem fearful. The memories of childhood create hypnotic state in the narrator. I lay back, and slipped into that pleasant, trance-like state. This suggests that the narrator is perhaps not in control. The suggestion he is in a trance makes the reader doubt his sense of reality and question if he really hears the cry of a child or not. The structured use of questions by the narrator suggests that his isolation makes him unsure of what is happening. And I quote, "How could there be? How many years? And who was now in this house with me?" The use of language related to death creates fear. And I quote, "Long dead ghosts, rest in peace." The writer uses language to suggest that the narrator is not alone in the house. I had the impression of someone who had just that very second gone past me. The narrator tries to make himself feel safe with the thought of home comfort. "Make myself a drink, stir up the fire a little." The narrator describes his thoughts as wild, incoherent fantasies, and the use of coordinated sentences suggests confusion and a lack of coherence caused by being alone. The first thing that I must have was a light. So the narrator equally uses negatives to suggest that he is unsure and disbelieving of what is happening. And I quote, "I had not bothered. I had seen no one, felt nothing. I had not even heard a footstep." Adverbs are used to emphasize the feelings of the narrator. And I quote, "The contrast," no, that is the end of that. "The contrast between conjecture and rational explanation creates a sense of confusion for the narrator and the reader, of course. The impact of the confusion created is seen in the use of verbs to describe negative or out of control actions. And I quote, "Groped, stumbled, dropped, spinning, and fell, and finally cast." Non-specific nouns and pronouns create a sense of isolation. No one, someone, another human being, a person, who, whatever, whoever. Short sentence structures create a sense of fear and tension. No light came on. The torch had broken. No, but what was real? The narrator's reactions are described as an almost childlike, and this links him with the child that he is crying. And I quote, "Crawling about on my hands and knees, weeping tears of despair, I drummed my fists upon the floorboards." And that is the narrator's reactions, which are described as almost childlike.